Welcome to this lovely live stream. The fairy doctor is in. Tell me what ails you and I'll tell you a tale. Or rather, because this is a live stream, I will pull a tale with the intention that it shall heal you, find you, offer you medicine where you are. So if you have stumbled across this live stream, this video, then know that it is for you. I am Halo Quin. I am a witch, an author, and a storyteller, and I work with the Fae. I learned long ago, as is traditional, that, well, once upon a time, our folk would learn their magic from the fair folk, from the fairies. The cunning ones would learn their magic, their healing from the Fae. And so I continue that tradition on today because the most powerful medicine, the most powerful magic is in story. And so this is where I come to share with you not snake oil, but pure, unadulterated tale chosen in the moment. Here in my doctor's bag, I have a whole bundle of yarns, and if you hold in your heart, hold in this moment out of time that comes across the wires and Wi-Fi here into this space. Hold that in you now. What is it that you need? What is it that you are seeking? And I will reach into my doctor's bag and feel which tale calls. Here we go. Perfect. This is a story for the time. Now, of course, if you are of a pagan persuasion, then you may well be aware that it is the autumn equinox just gone, moving into Samhain season. And this is in the northern hemisphere, the time when we are tipping into the dark. Of course, if you're in the southern hemisphere, then you're the other side of the equation and you're tipping into the light. But you're still moving into Scorpio season, so perhaps this will hold some magic for you either way. Our medicine today is seeds from the underworld. A dark, rich, red and black yarn. Mythic medicine from the depths. Once upon a time, in a time that is outside of time and inside of time all at once, so long ago and yet ever present, there was a maiden, a young goddess named Kore, daughter, maiden, youthful one, goddess of spring. As the spring rose, as the tides turned towards the growing season, she was out in the fields, planting seeds and singing those blossoms to life. Every place that she stepped, where her foot landed, or feet, depending on how you would like that grammar to go. Bright, shining, shimmering spring blossoms bloomed. She was delighting in the sunshine, delighting in the fresh spring air, delighting in her freedom to run. And run she did. She began to run across the fields. Where her feet landed, those flowers bloomed. Where her voice touched, they sparked and shimmered. Where she found herself, far across a field, Kore delighted in the spring, and her nymphs, Her beloved companions ran with her, laughing under the spring sunlight. But then Kore ran a little faster and got a little further ahead, and she found herself separated from her nymph companions. She found herself separated from all the people that she knew. She found herself separated from where she was told she could and should go and summon flowers. And she breathed in this moment of freedom, of space from her mother Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, that held dominion over the plants once they had fully grown, to cut them down and give them out as food. Kore found herself beyond her mother's reach. And this would have been fine, except that all of a sudden there was a rumbling in the ground, a rippling rolling of the earth, and a crack began to open beneath her feet. She stumbled back away as smoke belched out from beneath the split, and a chariot with a single man within, a single god within, came riding out from beneath the earth. Hades, lord of the underworld, Hades, god of the dead, scooped her up and swept her down, down, down into the earth, down, down, down beneath the rocks, down, down, down into the deep. Kore was carried by Hades, down, down, down into the underworld. The goddess of spring descended down into the dark. The crack closed, the nymphs came and found their goddess gone. Demeter came looking for her daughter, and could only say they did not know what had happened. Demeter walked across the land seeking her daughter. Demeter spent much time seeking her daughter on the land. And as she did, the growing green land withered and faded. As she sought her daughter in grief, not knowing where she was, the harvest failed, and the humans began to suffer. Here and there, Demeter asked, "What happened to my daughter?" Here and there she asked. Everywhere she came, she asked, and no one knew. No one would say. Until the sun took pity on the poor humans, took pity on Demeter and her seeking, and said softly in her ear as he sat, Helios whispered, "Go ask Zeus." Demeter stormed up the mountain, up Mount Olympus, up to where Zeus was, up to confront the king of the gods. And Zeus was sheepish. Zeus could only say that he did know where her daughter was. "Your daughter, Demeter," he said, "your daughter has gone to the underworld with my brother Hades." "What?" Her voice echoed across the mountains. "How dare he? How could he?" And Zeus stopped her there and said, "Well, I said he may." Demeter's fury laid waste to the land. And she turned there on the spot and said to Zeus, if you do not get my daughter back right now, all of the humans will die and you will never again have tribute from them. Zeus was not best pleased by this idea, and Demeter stood firm. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Persephone, as she would become, was learning who she was. Kore, the daughter of Demeter, was learning how to be a seed in the dark, how to live under the ground. She knew what it was to be a bright blossom, calling in the bees, calling in the honey. But here she learned to walk through the underworld, to walk through the darkness and the shadows, to find the beauty of the luminescence under the earth, that chthonic depths. Kore wanted for nothing in the underworld. Hades had stolen her away, but he treated her well once she was there. He made sure she had what she needed. And Kore began to appreciate that here was somewhere she could carve out her own path. Here, perhaps she no longer needed to be the daughter of the harvest goddess, but could be a queen in her own right. Here, deep in the dark, in the underworld, in the land of the dead, stolen away from her home and all that entailed, she faced the shadows and decided to make something of her new life. Persephone she became, queen of the underworld. Persephone, the dreadful, burning one. Persephone, wife of Hades. Zeus, on watching the humans fall and his tributes decline, decided that Demeter perhaps needed catering to, and sent Hermes and Hecate, goddess of the crossroads and god of messengers, down, down, down to the underworld to bring back Kore. But when they got there, they found Kore was no longer who she once had been. Kore was now queen in her own right. Kore was now part of the underworld. For the world. Just 6, that was all it took for her to be part of that world. And they bargained and they begged. But Hades is not about to let his new wife go. No, she has eaten of this land, and she belongs here. Well, Hermes and Hecate, both being wise in their ways, conferred for a moment and came up with a suggestion, a plan, a compromise that both the living and the dead may agree with. Persephone, they said, you who are now queen of this realm. Yes. Well, the land above is dying without your touch as the queen, the goddess of spring. Yes. And as you only ate 6 pomegranate seeds, perhaps Perhaps you could spend 6 months here as queen and come back up for 6 months each year to be the goddess of spring. Persephone took a moment. She liked being queen. She liked being her own person. She liked much of her new life. But she definitely missed the sunlight. And she remembered the joy of bringing those blossoms up from the seeds beneath. And here in this moment, Persephone realized that she could do her job even better if she both walked in the land of the dead, beneath the earth where the seeds were nourished, and rose up into the land of life to be renewed, just as the flowers, just as the green, just as every being would spend some time, the souls beneath in the dark, to be nourished, to dream, and some time in the light, to live and love and feel and fade away. To Hermes and Hecate, Persephone, queen of the underworld, said yes. And Hades, well, he couldn't tell a queen what to do. Wrapped in that story, in that tale, in that yarn, are many, many different kinds of medicines, many ways in which that tale can be told. In the oldest forms, Persephone was not just stolen away. Kore was stolen and forced. I'll leave it up to you to interpret what that means. In the more modern versions of the tale, Kore chooses to descend out of curiosity or ends up in the underworld and makes a choice, falls in love, opts to stay. Both options talk about how we, as the young life-filled beings that we are, can end up in dark, shadowy places, can end up in the underworld, can end up in the chthonic, can face our shadows, can face the dark, hard times. How each of us can go into that place in many different ways and still claim our power. Whatever the darkness is that we face, whether it is in the old stories or the new, where she was stolen away or she chose, whether it was by accident that she ate those seeds or on purpose, whether hunger or curiosity, the journey is the same. Life descends, faces the darkness, and chooses to rise and fall in turn. The tale of Persephone holds many strands, many threads, many pieces of wisdom. But the prescription of this medicine for you today, if you have come across this tale, this video, this moment, then your prescription is this: to find the seeds of bright, in the dark, and to eat them, to take in those moments of delight, those moments of deliciousness, those moments of shining life. However dark it gets, to remember that they are there and to claim them as your own and hold them tight. Imagine now, if you will, a piece of paper with the words scrawled barely legible, for a doctor's handwriting is hard to read. Your prescription. In the dark, find the seeds of delight. Swallow one a day with water. And a nice deep breath. Thank you for joining me in this story, in this moment, in this time of medicine, on this live stream. Thank you for joining me on the replay, if you come on the replay. These will be posted on my YouTube and on Instagram so that you can watch the replay if you only caught parts of it or if you've come late. And there is a playlist on my YouTube of the tales, Storytime with the Fairy Doctor. For every story is medicine for you, for us all. They are the oldest medicines that we as storytelling creatures have. If you have enjoyed this tale, then I invite you to check out my work on haloquin.net, to watch some of my other videos on YouTube with the storytelling, which is channel at Halo Quin, and to come and join me in the Enchanted Academy, where we talk about the magic of story, where I share monthly masterclasses for free. This month I'm going to be sharing about fairies, perhaps how to see fairies, we shall see, and where we investigate embodied magic, divine love, and all of the tools of a witch in the world, that you may take your practice deeper. And if you just like the storytelling, then you can come and find me at the Aberystwyth Steampunk Festival on the 14th of October? 15th of October. I'll be telling stories on the Sunday. I look forward to seeing you there. Many blessings. Much medicine to you all. And I'll see you next month for more stories with the Fairy Doctor.